why I'm calling. So
yeah, well,
that's not the case.
Yeah, well, no, we had another press conference here, and that delayed the time. I can review it and call you back.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. I don't know if the other John wants to say anything right now.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're gonna hold up right now before we make a statement. Okay, I'm gonna make this statement that we are deferring to John C. Barnett because he has been able to do good work for us. So we're gonna defer to a professional. I will say this real quickly, that I did review what the prosecutor said, and he implied that the help that we got was amateurs and that he wouldn't take any lead from anybody, any investigative work from anyone outside of the law enforcement community. I continue to take issue with that and continue to say that the case is biased after having reviewed his statements. There are other points that need to be rebutted, but we're going to defer to Mr. Barnett at this time.
Okay.
How long is it? Can you tell me how long it is?
40 minutes.
I mean, the press conference was like a 40-minute press conference, so I don't know. I do have to go to press like around 7, so I can give you until that long to get something in, but beyond that, unfortunately, we'd miss press deadline. So I don't know what you.
We just finished our press conference, so I can watch it now. Believe it or not, I will say another reporter called and just gave me the highlights, and then I gave him the feedback. So I'll let you know that because he's not going for the charges, I can't tell you. I'll tell you something like I told him. We're not surprised. It's been a whole year. I will say it's very ironic that we staged our press conference last week, which really shined a light on this case. And now all of a sudden, less than a week, he's responding. So, yeah, believe it or not, that's exactly what we wanted to happen. We wanted him to come outside of those closed doors, outside of that office that he's hiding in, and come out and explain to us what's going on with this case. Number 2, he promised the autopsy multiple times. I think he said last week in the news that, he was supposed to meet with somebody and he wasn't trying to hold it back, but it's still considered private property. And I say that to say this. Yesterday, we had some family members, 2 in particular, one a family member, one family friend, to meet with him for over an hour. And I instructed them to go in, get the autopsy report, come out, let me give it to my attorney so we can move forward. He wanted to play games and just kind of show him pieces of it. And he still has not released the autopsy. So now, since the case is closed, historically, what I've experienced in 15, 17 years of civil rights is that once the case is closed, everything needs to be released. What does that mean? That means we want the cell phone. We want the clothes. We want the shoes. We want the autopsy report. We want everything. Because now that the case is closed, we want to get those items so we can give it to an attorney so we can move forward. Are we getting an attorney? Absolutely we are. Number 2, that doesn't stop here. In Mississippi, I had to go in front of the Attorney General's office to get the goon squad locked up. What does that mean? That means you can boldly tell everybody in your story today that we're going to be contacting the Attorney General that's over the entire state of West Virginia. After him, if we don't find support and some insight that he's going to give us some form of closure, then we'll take it to the SBI. Same steps I gave you all last week. It's basically going up the corporate ladder. So we're telling to the DA, we appreciate his time, his extended time on this case. It's been a whole year. We're not surprised that he would come out and speak today. And someone taught me, an old wise man taught me, the more you talk, the more you're trying to clean stuff up. Now, I know our press conference was an hour, but it was more than one speaker. So if you talk for 40 minutes, you're being very redundant, and you possibly may be trying to clean something up. And so in saying that, I would use that to say in closing that in the future, we're going to be staging a justice rally in West Virginia in Fairmont. And we're going to be coming back to do our own press conference in front of the courthouse. And we are going to be reaching out for national support based on his decision today. That could be the likes of Ben Crump, Attorney Malik Shabazz, who helped me in Mississippi, celebrities, rappers, the whole nine. All of these individuals that I've been blessed to have their cell number. So you're looking at AG's office, because I'm not going to stop there. We're looking at national support for this case. And we're also looking at reaching out to the SBI. Because I think that's just too much for someone to be shot 5 times in the front and nothing be done about it. Not even involuntary manslaughter. That's too much for me. 5 times. One in the leg is enough.
So last week you also said that like if the evidence kind of bears out the self-defense narrative, that you'd be willing to drop the whole thing. I mean, like is that kind of like what you're like if you get all the access to all the evidence and you're able to do your own investigation and kind of backs up the self-defense narrative, like will you still drop everything? Or I'm just curious how you plan to do that.
Actually, no. Believe it or not, after we left West Virginia, we found out that he was shot 5 times. Someone had said that maybe he was shot in the back. But to know that he was shot 5 times, see, we didn't know what the deal was with the case. Last week, we only knew he was shot 5 times. I was thinking in the back, in the leg, in the arm. Now we know. We also know that he's not giving up the autopsy report. Hopefully, he'll give it to Precious, the daughters, one day this week. So those 2 factors alone is enough to let us know that there's no apology that's going to be rendered right now. We are still in the phase of initiating direct civil rights. Our goal with the justice rallies is to mobilize, both locally and nationally. And then I aspire to have a march down there to bring even more exposure to this case. My goal is to have this case bigger than George Floyd. I'm going to be honest with you. Because the only one that can fight for Mr. Echols is us on the outside. Nobody knows what happened in that house in those haunting hours of him being in there. Nobody knows what happened except the 2 people that's on vacation right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like no matter what Freeman says, like you don't really trust him.
I don't think it's a matter of trust. I think his trust has been broken with Mr. John Shabazz asking for the autopsy report, or him and Precious going down there. So you got to realize 3-4 months ago, we wrote him a letter. Say, hey, we want to go to the autopsy report. So you got to realize he's told us 3 lies, and 3 strikes you out in baseball. The first lie is, hey, I'll be willing to sit down with you guys, talk to you all, and give this autopsy report to you. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, from what we understand, he was supposed to give it
that's
to.
It. Yeah. That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. He was. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So So that's number 1. Number 2, he was supposed to release it yesterday. I'm going to give you the autopsy report and the DVD. Is that correct, Mr. John?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He didn't give it to them, sir. He basically went through and flipped through the pages and still didn't give it to. If he was concerned about family members, that's the grandfather.
Yeah.
And then the third lie, which is probably the most important one, the third one is the fact that he said that we obviously was not telling the truth on last week. But I would challenge that and say, at this point right now, the only reason he spoke today was because we came out last week. The third lie, sir, is that it's been a whole year, and he's been giving us a lot of promises, and it's all have not played out as it relates to closure for the family, for the Echols family. And so it's too many lies, too many sneaky things going on, so to speak, for us to trust him right now. He didn't have the audacity to meet with me and John. And so in saying that, we have no choice but to just go off of that alone.
Yes.
Off of those broken promises that he gave us to move forward.
Hey, I'd also like to add that the proportionality principle still applies. He talked about castle doctrine in his press conference, but I would also say that the proportionality principle, meaning reasonable force is justified before deadly force against an unarmed man. I still would say Echols is not a burglar, even though the prosecutor has stretched the burglary statute to imply that Echols is a burglar. At best,
That's correct.
At best, he's a trespasser, and that is not any of the offenses that justify the use of deadly force. Okay. See, he's still dealing with that. That's why he says that in his press conference that Echols was 100 pounds more than Costello. I paid attention to those things. And we're going to go and gather those things up with all due respect, because that's just my profile to be able to rebut what the prosecutor says. Now we are on the offense, and we're winning. That's the way we look at it.
Yeah, his press conference today is just motivating us to keep going.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I think that's everything I needed. Anything else, guys?
That'll be it. Justice rally next month. Press conference coming up, and a possible march in Fairmont.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Take care.